Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete for Anxiety here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about again. Welcome in today's episode. Before we get started today, we need to cover a few things really quick. Let's talk about the Pete for Anxiety Patreon first off. It's only $1, guys. $1. What does $1 get you? $1 gets you into the exclusive episodes I am recording currently. I'm actually focusing on certain different diagnoses of things to show you guys what it actually looks like as it manifests in a person. So why not for $1, judges? Yeah, they said $1. I just checked with them too. See, they said it was okay. It was $1 anyways. Let's also talk about the Oracle Talk Radio Networks app. In case you can't be here live listening to me, watching this video, supporting the show, you can listen to it on the radio app. Why not? It connects us live to our 365 radio. Just go to your app stores and download the Oracle Talk Radio Network. You'll see the big old Oracle Talk Radio Network app logo right on there. Download it. It'll connect you to me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to Pete for Anxiety when I'm live doing my thing right here, informing the world and raising mental health awareness. So where are you going to be? 10 a.m. Of course. Come on. We just talked about this. Pay attention for once. Damn. Do y'all know how to listen? And as always, guys, like, follow, and share the YouTube channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, leave some comments, man. We want to know. I want to know if you like what you're on. You want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up at PeteVersusAnxietyPod@gmail.com. And as always, guys, enjoy the show. And by the way, did I mention to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because some of y'all are hard of hearing in the back, may have to yell loud or get a megaphone or something. But, anyways, let's get today's show started. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy. Guys, it's 10 o'clock. You know what time it is? It's time for an exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety, the mental health podcast breaking the stigma that mental health's really talked about. My guest today proves the fact that it's not how hard you fall down, it's how fast you get back up. Please welcome in my guest, Jasmine. Jasmine, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Welcome in. So why don't you tell everybody a little more about yourself? Let them all know who you are, give them a little background.
Yeah, sure. So I am Jasmine Lopez, and where do I start? Let's see. I deeply love talking about my story. Mental health is a big part of that. About 8 or 9 years ago, I forget how many years it's been now, I went through a diagnosis process with my own mental health and finally got language for some of my story and what I had experienced throughout my childhood. And really seeing the interconnections of my lived experience with money as well. And so I began this healing journey to better understand the interconnections of money and mental health, which has inspired me to start a nonprofit called the Firehouse Dream, where we focus on financial wellness, mental health, and creative entrepreneurship in the Chicagoland area. And it's something I'm deeply passionate about. I love sharing my story as someone who experienced bankruptcy back in 2010 and have been on this journey to figure out how to rebuild and live an abundant life.
Did you say Chicagoland? Girl, you speaking my language. That's actually, I'm from Chicagoland too. I grew up in Des Plaines. So it's funny you say
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
You're still there now, right?
No, we just moved to Las Vegas.
Oh,
So
so
I'm
you
in
went to
Las Vegas
Vegas.
now. Yeah. And I'm trying to figure out what does it look like to bring our work here? And we are focusing on youth mental health here in Vegas as well.
Well, that's awesome though. It's always good. It's always great to start with the younger kids and work your way up from there, because we teach them now, then they'll learn better in the future.
Absolutely.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your story? Give us a little insight. I know you said you had a bankruptcy and things like that, but what kind of mental health diagnosis do you have?
Yeah, so it started off as anxiety and depression, and then it transitioned into CPTSD. And I think, finally sitting down with a therapist, it took a long time for me to feel safe around mental health and for it to be destigmatized because, I grew up in a Latina single-parent home context on the southwest side of Chicago, and mental health was not talked about. Neither was money. And so it wasn't until, my early 30s at the time where I was like, there's something deeper here. And I started being in a group with other moms and hearing them talk about their mental health and seeing therapists. And I was like, tell me more. What does this mean? What has tell me what this looks like.
Yeah.
And it took a couple years before I felt safe enough to reach out and get help. But I was experiencing some PTSD episodes from my childhood experience. There's just a lot of trauma there. And I was like, okay, I need to go, if not just for myself, then for my children. And I want to be able to be the best possible mom I can be. And this is deeply impacting my relationship with my girls. And so I went thinking I was going to tackle the childhood trauma, and she actually wanted to focus more on how abandonment impacts one's brain and
Mm-hmm.
needing to heal and create new neural pathways in my brain in terms of trusting not just myself or reconnecting with myself, because I was so I had so much disassociation that she really wanted me to just learn how to reconnect with body and self, and then also how to heal with my relationship with others. And so, so like I said, it started off as depression with depersonalization, and then a couple months in it changed to CPTSD after I was having some emotional flashbacks and
Yeah.
didn't quite know what was happening. And she was like, okay, we need to up your sessions, we need to talk more about this, and we need to
Yeah.
help you gain some skills around how to feel safe when you're having an emotional flashback.
Well, that's good though. I mean, like you'll be happy to know I was abandoned when I was 10 years old, so I could feel you on that whole abandonment thing right there. So you're not alone there. I have anxiety and depression as well. Luckily, I haven't had CPTSD. Look, I'm just, knock on wood, but I'm very sorry that's what it turned into. I mean, it's very hard, especially growing up in a family that didn't talk about it ever. Mine didn't either. Like, my mom made me go to a therapist when I was 10, but it was more because she was the one that had an issue. My parents divorced. She was like, oh, well, he's having coping issues. No, I just don't like you because you abandoned me on my dad's doorstep when I was 10 years old. And I'm remembering that very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So I could relate to that completely with you on there, that's the same thing. Reason I went to get help too is because one day I had a freak out session, yelled at my wife, and it just went completely berserk for no reason. And it was just like all these things are built up. And when I went to talk to somebody, they turned out that it was just that. It was that she's like, a lot of your issues come from because you're abandoned when you're so young. So anytime you feel like you're in that scenario where you feel like the other person's going to leave, you start getting real hyper tense and things like that, and start freaking out and start getting aggressive and all that kind of stuff. So I can relate
Yeah.
to that completely.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think, yeah, for me, I totally resonate with that because
Yeah.
it's still something all these years later, even though I have some tools and strategies
Yeah.
now that I still struggle with. But I think for me, like the episodes I was having was a result of my daughter being the age of where I was remembering my most
Yeah.
trauma. And yeah, and I was like responding to her as if she was my little child because she looked so much like me at that age that I was like, whoa, if I don't stop now and get help, I'm going
Yeah.
to end up ruining my relationship with my kiddo. And so I've done so much healing work to be the kind of mom that I wanted to be with her, and where she is her own individual person and I'm not seeing my own inner child through her as well.
Yeah, and that's crazy. I don't think people realize that when it comes to PTSD and things like that, it's those little things that can just set you off and you don't even know. Sometimes it's just like you said, seeing it within you. And then just, certain things will just set you off. And then if you go into one of those fits, a lot of times that's not the person you know anymore. So like it may be Jasmine on the outside, but it ain't Jasmine in her mind. She's not seeing it that way. She's going to the next level, just going, and it goes autopilot for some people. And it gets real scary for people because they don't know what to do in those scenarios. I've had a scenario where I had to fight somebody off, and it's like you would have never saw it coming that way though, but it was just what happened. They went into a complete berserk rage mode and then just went for a fight or flight mode because it just kicked in and just went boom, and then off the races you go. So but that's great to hear though that you started getting some help though, because that's the first step. A lot of people don't want to admit they have a problem. It took me what is it, 39 years to do something about it finally.
Mm-hmm.
After all these years, just finally said enough is enough, man. I just can't continue to feel like the way I do, and it's helped tremendously, and I think the thing with therapy, people think it's more like you're laying on the couch and they're telling you things. Like, no, dude, it's just a conversation. Like, it's great. It helps sometimes for somebody to understand the other side of your brain and understand what you're thinking and give you tools just like you were given.
Exactly. And I think, yeah, when I started going, I'm like, why did I wait so long? And then
Yeah.
I don't know if you experienced this, but I think this is something about therapy that many don't talk about week 4 in or week 6. I was trying to find all the reasons for why this wasn't going to work, and I was going to like try to break up with my therapist, and she, I guess, had the foresight,
Just like,
and
no.
she called me out on it before I could even say anything, and I was like, oh dang.
This is like, no, you can't do that.
So I stuck it out with her for like a year and a half, and
Yeah.
man, I'm so grateful for the work that I did, and just how she helped me learn how to reconnect with self and be able to begin to heal my relationship with others.
Yeah, yeah, and think about it now. This recording will go out, and somebody will see this, and they'll say, "Man, Jasmine did it, so why can't I do it?" And you just don't think about it because it's one of those things where you're like, you don't realize how much your story impacts people. Like I've had a guy on this show literally sit here and tell me, he's like, "Oh, this story's not going to matter." Did he not know what's going to happen is that two people had watched the show, an actual couple, a guy named Ken that I know that I talk to all the time now, and his girlfriend Nicole had watched his episode and said, "Man, now I want to come tell my story." So just keep that in mind. You telling your story now is going to be way more impactful than you realize it's going to be, because someone's going to see this and go, "Hey, now I want to be just like Jasmine," and it's at first it's a little rough for people when they start these conversations with me, but we just flow through them, man. Like I said, that's why I go casual versus like, hey, 10,000 questions, because it doesn't work like that. When you talk to people in normal conversation, you're more likely to get more out of them versus, start drilling them with questions and stuff like that too. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I am a storyteller. I started storytelling through photography, and photography in high school, it was so huge. I didn't have language for it, but there was something really powerful about the tool of photography that allowed me to document the stories of others. And I was even doing like photo shoot campaigns of highlighting untold stories. And then when I started having some of my first explicit like PTSD episodes, is when I felt like, okay, for years I focused on the stories of others, and now it's time for me to take a pause and focus on my story and get help for my own story. And so photography is still a tool I use today to storytell, and it's why I do the work I do through the nonprofit, and where we're really trying to destigmatize mental health within our communities, specifically using creativity as a way to heal. And so it's been an amazing journey in really trying to use my story as an inspiration or a source of encouragement for others, so that they can be able to begin to also feel like mental health is destigmatized within their own context as well.
yeah. So, okay. So speaking of your nonprofit, what do you guys do exactly? Like, when you want to give everybody a little more information on the things that you guys do
Yeah.
currently, give them a little more information, maybe let them know where they can go and check it out. They want to donate, or they want to offer some help or something like that. Let's lay it on them. Tell them about it,
Absolutely.
girl. Let them have
Yeah.
it.
So the nonprofit, our mission is to be a safe space for BIPOC youth between the ages of 13 and 22. And we do this through our three interconnected pillars: creative entrepreneurship, financial wellness, and mental health. I knew that when I was getting into this work, that just teaching creative skills as a way to be able to earn an income. And when I say creative skills, I mean like photography, film, content creation,
Mhm.
podcasting, any type of skill like this that can be monetized, that helps our youth see options that are available to them beyond academics and sports, especially since the nonprofits in Maywood, Illinois, and so it's a Title I school district. We're a community that's experienced this investment, and so we're trying to show other career pathways that don't necessarily require higher education
Mhm.
for youth. And so we knew that to teach a creative skill was just not enough. We wanted to focus on how do we help, and so instead of mental health, the word mental health can feel scary for a lot of people. And so how has your story, your lived experiences impacted the way you see yourself, others, and money? And so this is why we do the three interconnected pillars, because we can't talk about how do we build a thriving business if we don't even have a positive or healthy sense of relationship to self, others, and money. And so we do lots of programming, and we pivot based on what the needs of the community are. But we host a lot of what's called art as therapy workshops at our location, where it's open to the community, it's open to families. They can come in, and we don't call it art therapy. Well, it can't be called art therapy unless you're working with a licensed art therapist, but you
Yeah.
could call it art as therapy if you're using art as a form of healing. But we do work actually with a licensed therapist. So she comes
Yeah.
in, she facilitates these workshops, and it's just an opportunity for, again, our community and neighbors to gain language around their own story. So we did a workshop called like memory bracelets is what we called it. And it was an opportunity for our community to make bracelets in a way to honor someone that they've maybe recently lost or want to acknowledge. What they don't necessarily know is like it was a grief session, but it's a way for them to creatively experience and express connection with someone that they recently lost and gain some safety connection amongst each other to be able to begin to again gain that language around their own story. And so we've realized that moving away from the big clinical professional language has been really helpful towards getting our community to feel a sense of connection. Once they feel safe enough and are like, oh, I think I'm ready to talk with a therapist, we've partnered with licensed therapists who offer reduced scale priced therapy sessions so that they can get directly connected with someone and not have to wait the typical 3 to 6 months period that exists oftentimes because they're uninsured or have Medicaid. And so we want to be able to help alleviate that barrier to have access to care.
That's awesome. That's really awesome that you guys are doing that too, because I think that's the biggest problem when it comes to mental health is not enough resources to get people the help they need. It's just costs too much. A lot of it too is just crazy how much it costs for people to do these
Yes.
things. And listen, I'm going to extend an offer to anybody that you work with there. If they want to come on here and share their story, you let me know because I do
Okay.
have more spots open. We can record episodes and I can send them home with their own episode. They can show everybody. It will be put on the YouTube page, so I'll just add it to there. And there is an audio side too, by the way. So there is an audio side that will hear this story as well. Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio. So let them know they'll just reach out. You got all my information to reach out to me. Let me know for sure. But definitely let's get them linked up. If they're down, they want to do it. I'm gonna give them a chance to share their story and go from there. Because like I said, and if they don't want anybody to hear it, it's fine. We can just send them the video. And I'll just send them the video back, and they can do it and keep it for themselves. That way they feel accomplished doing it, because sometimes it feels good just sharing your story with other people, people listening and hearing what you're saying. And once you put it out there, then it feels a lot better, because now it's like now your story's out there and you can start moving forward too, is another way a lot of people heal with that as well.
Absolutely. You know what's cool is a couple years ago, we actually did a mental health campaign where we filmed 6 stories of youth, young adults who shared their story and their own mental health
Yeah.
journey. And it's just really powerful, which is why we center storytelling and creativity in the work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about how expensive resources are, another program or initiative we've launched and have done over the last few years is we recently experienced a cluster of losses to suicide and specifically youth suicide in our
Yeah.
local high schools. And so we did a dreaming session with a group of youth, and we're like, hey, what if we were to put a resource together, what would you want to see inside of it? And so we co-created this mental health kit that has like fidgets in it, a feelings wheel, journal prompts with the journal, inspiring stickers that were hand illustrated and created by our youth. But everything inside of it was co-created and designed with our youth. And it's just this really beautiful resource that we've been able to put together. And to date, we've given out over 2,700 of them for free to the youth in our community. And so now we're dreaming up like, what does it look like to expand this work, take it national? And again, it's the self-guided opportunity for our youth to gain language around their stories, and again, making mental health be destigmatized so that they can begin to gain a few tools on within themselves and through some of their own work. That way, if it is inaccessible to get access to mental health, at least they're beginning to gain a few tools to better understand their feelings or emotions, and some ways to be able to get those emotions out of inside and out. And so it's been a really neat resource that we've created. And the feedback we're receiving from our youth and our parents has just been amazing.
Well, it's awesome you work with the youth, because I did an interview with a gentleman by the name of Leroy. He actually is in Canada. He's a principal of school, and Leroy is using this principle of telling the children just breathe. Like before they make a decision, Just Breathe. And then a couple weeks ago, I had another gentleman named Brian. He's a part of another one. He's doing an app where he's trying to teach children basically how to regulate their feelings, kind of thing. So the kids just hit home awesome for me. I love it. So when you mention suicide, it's funny you say that because across the bottom of this screen right here, I'm actually a part of another nonprofit. It's called Podcast Preventions. And basically what we're doing is we're raising money to make mental health talked about again, like, suicide prevention, things like that. And there's different like speaker opportunities and things like that. So we may need to link up here on that for sure. And then when you get that whole global rollout, let me know because I will gladly promote it out here and I'll put it everywhere I got for everything too. Cause I want to make sure people get access to all these things. So I think what you're doing is great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Any ways we can partner and collaborate,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm all for.
Definitely, I agree. I agree. Like I said, because together we're stronger versus being solo. And then, like I said, I'll send you all the information for the nonprofit and stuff like that. Definitely send me all yours because I'm going to put it all in the bio here, and I'll put some links up and everything else for people to check out and things like that. And to keep me in touch though, when you do get the big global scale going a little more for more bigger scale, let me know where people can find that stuff so we can start getting it pushed out there right away.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. So in Las Vegas, that's going to be our focus is getting our
Yeah,
mental health
definitely.
kits out here. That's a quarter 1 goal for 2025. So I'm super excited.
I'm excited for you guys too because it sounds like you're making big things happen and it's going to happen. So.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you guys are doing that because it's great. It's the great thing about this show is that we all connect like this. I've got so many different people I've connected with. There's a woman named Stephanie Aycock who's actually changing the way people look at mental health as well. She's working on a movie. It's called Bloom, and basically the idea is some of it's a bit of her story, but the way she looks at it is there's a little humor in there. There's a little this. The main character is presented with these different issues, and I'll send you all the links for her too, so you can check out all her stuff like that and see what she's got going on there in case y'all want to partner up with her or anything
Okay.
like that because she's making big things happen. And, I love connecting new people all the time for these kind of things. So this is so great you're actually here because we can start linking up all these different links and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
I'm excited to listen. So let's ask you about the website. Okay. Mentally Mutual. What is that
Mhm.
exactly? You want to tell us a little more about that? Give a little.
Yeah. So Mentally Mutual is this new endeavor that I'm currently building out for it to be my private practice. So I just
There
went
you go.
through the process of becoming an accredited financial counselor. I'm so close. I just have to turn in my experience hours, but I passed my exam in December. And really what I want to focus on is the interconnections of money and mental health and how they are so interconnected, especially financial anxiety and stress and how that can impact one's mental health. And so my dream is to start a private practice and start taking clients, and Mentally Mutual is exactly that space. And it's going to be here in Las Vegas. And it's an opportunity for me to connect with other individuals who want to better understand their money story and how has their money story impacted, again, their sense of self, their relationship to self, others, and
Mhm.
money.
Yeah, it's funny you say money because a lot of people, I don't think are taught finances at an early age. Even though we do take in economics in most classes in school, but how deep do they really go? I don't think it's taught well enough. I think economics is great to understand how money flows, but I think just simple money practices of like how to save things, budgeting and things like that. I think they should go a little more deeper into those kind of things because I remember when I took economics, it was kind of like, it was kind of one of those things you're like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done. But there's
Yeah.
so many different approaches you could take to things like that because there's adults out there that don't even know how to manage their own money correctly versus
Mhm.
these younger kids. So, I mean, it's great that you're starting with the kids because if we could teach them younger, they won't have the same problems that we all have now. Where we just have all these debt and everything else, and these things that start building up, and have a better sense of how money works and how budgeting works, and teach them the skills that they need early on. That way, they can start developing them now versus trying to just go through the rough, go like basically what they taught us, trial by fire, basically.
Yeah, and I'm really trying to teach them like just not budgeting skills, that's a thing to know, but how do we create a budget that reflects your values and your
Yeah.
joys? And I think our youth are experiencing such societal pressures, not just from social media, but from their schools, from their families, especially if they're like first generation college students. And so my goal is to say, okay, how do we like move away from all of the noise and instead really identify what are your values and what brings you joy?
Yeah.
And if you are in alignment with the things that you value and that brings you joy, then that should inform your financial decisions. And if there isn't an alignment there, then what shifts can we make so that you are aligned in it? And then I think the more aligned we are, then it helps to remove a sense of comparison and jealousy, because we're so aligned and in tuned with who we each individually are that then it could lead us towards the celebration of others.
That's awesome. I like that. I like you got a plan in place and everything else. Any timeline to when it's done? Is it just turning in those hours and we're off to the races?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's literally just need to sit down and like turn in the hours. I'm working on getting an office space, a small office space that I can turn into, kind of so it has a very therapeutic. We were taught how to create the space to feel safe and inviting and therapeutic. We learned different therapeutic modalities along with financial strategies, and I just want to continue learning, implement what I've learned throughout the years as I focus on this. So I can already do financial counseling and coaching,
Hmm.
but I just want to finish my accreditation and have it like be officially official. But I did pass my exam, like I said, in December, and I'm just really excited for the new opportunities that I'll have in 2025. I do speak, so I get to travel and speak to youth and adults around this concept of money healing and how to heal our money story and our money mindset, and then in turn create that values-based budget.
I like it. I like it though. You're out there talking to the kids and everything. Okay, like they said, we'll definitely get linked up then for sure for that. Because like I said, they offer paying opportunities through the nonprofit I'm a part of. I can think today, but the nonprofit that I'm a part of, basically, they offer those kind of things. So that's great. I think that your approach to it is that a lot of people don't talk about money, and that's great though that you're looking at a fresh approach to how it goes. And I think that that's what we need. We need a constant change of how we look at things. Like, don't get me wrong, old school things are great, but we need to start looking at the now, that what applies to these kids now versus what applied to us back then.
Exactly. And it's so different now. And, I'm raising a teenager myself, and she has, her own mental health journey. And so
Yeah.
I see the anxiety around adulthood and the stress. And thankfully she has us who's going to help her walk through it. But there's so many youth who become financially independent by the age of 18. I know
Hmm.
that's part of my story as well. And, I just felt this immense pressure to go to college and got myself into a ton of debt and just made a lot of poor financial decisions because I didn't know better,
Yeah.
which, in my young 20s resulted towards experiencing bankruptcy during the Great Recession. And so it's through that journey where I was like, oh, okay, there's an opportunity here to redefine and reimagine what success looks like to me. And I thought it was because I didn't know how to save or budget. So for those first 7 years, that's what I focused on, was financial literacy. And then 7 years in, I was like, okay, there's something deeper here. There's something more going on. There's like a disconnect between my brain and something going on. And that's when I went to therapy, got a financial coach, a spiritual director, and a community of friends who are also working through their own financial journey. And I think having and being surrounded in community and different professionals to help guide me through the journey is really what helped me start my healing journey.
Yeah. So you said 18, you just got out of school. Did your parents use that same philosophy mine did? Oh, well, you're 18, you either pay rent or get out, basically. Or go to school, pay rent, or get out. That's the choices you got.
Yeah, so single parent home. My dad left before I was even born, so he
Yeah.
was never present in the home. So for my mom, it was, I think she tried to do the best she could under the understanding and context of what she had, and I
Yeah.
think to her that meant you need to be independent by the age of 18. I was actually very independent by the age of 14. I was already working, had a job, for the summers, was earning income. And then by the age of 18, graduated a semester early, had two jobs, a full-time job and a night job before I started college in the fall. And then I went to art school. And I think, being a first generation college student, I had no context of like what even college was,
Yeah.
or where to go, but I knew where not to go, which was everyone bashing our local community college, which I'm sure you're familiar with it, College
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
DuPage,
Yep.
COD. Everybody went to COD, and I wish that I had more adults in my life to help guide me and say, hey, girl, there is nothing wrong with going to a community college. You can, earn your associates at a very, low cost or possibly even free. There's tons of resources for you.
Yeah.
Here's how to start. And unfortunately, I didn't have that. And so I was just on my own trying to figure it out. So I went to art school, took out alternative loans because we couldn't get financial aid, and just got myself into so much debt that when I realized what I had done and that I had no plan for how to pay for it, I freaked out and stopped at my associates. Long story short, it ends up ballooning to $100K. We're now student loan debt free, but it was
100K. Good
yes,
God,
it
girl. What?
balloons.
Holy Lord.
Because these
Jesus.
interest rates on alternative loans, there's no source of like protection.
Yeah.
So these interest rates are like 12, it was like 12 to 17%
Yeah.
each one that I had. I was able to consolidate them, but it was still pretty high. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like at 10%. And it capitalizes, it kept just capitalizing
Oh,
and compounding
Jesus.
and compounding.
They
And
took
when I
advantage of you.
and when we experienced the bankruptcy, it's a long story, but there was just some shadiness that happened
Yeah. Yeah. I
from
get that. I
the
get feeling completely. I could tell just by the way that just went. I'm like 100,000 for art school. Jesus Almighty,
yeah.
man.
And they put me in automatic default because of the bankruptcy. And our lawyer was like, we think it's discriminatory, but we can't help you with it. And at that time, no one was really going against, filing lawsuits or really challenging the student loan system. And so it just really became this huge challenge and barrier for me. They ended up settling. Long story short, they settled
Yeah.
for like a quarter of the amount, and my parents for the first time ever called a family meeting, and we came up with a plan to figure out how to pay for this. And then the rest of it got discharged. But it was a very high
Oh,
stressful
I believe it.
situation that again caused so much anxiety, stress, fear. And because my mom was the co-signer on it, like they were like harassed at the time. I was young, I didn't know, but they were like harassing me. They're like, we're not going after you, we're going after her, we're going to take all her assets, we're going to garnish her wages. And that freaked me out because I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
like the one thing my single parent mom tried to do was to help set me up well, and now I've screwed her over. What am I going to do? And so thankfully, we finally found a solution, but it was a stressful, I think, 3 or 4 years before
Yeah.
they finally decided to settle with us.
Okay. So while we're on the subject of school, do you have any advice for anybody that's getting close to that or thinking about going to school? Do you have any tips or tricks they should know ahead of time when it's coming to dealing with a lot of that stuff? Because I know when it comes to a lot of those things, it's like, well, where am I gonna get all the money at? Like, you don't have to go to university, like you said. It could be one of these small time community colleges or whatever else. Just focus on what exactly it is you want to do. So, for the financial side, what advice would you give someone that now that you know all these things now?
Yeah. So I actually have a friend who teaches college hacking. She's my executive assistant at the nonprofit, and she actually graduates this year with her BA. And I've learned so much from her, but you can negotiate your FAFSA, like after they give you what your award is, you can negotiate it and
Yeah.
share why they should give you more. Community colleges, I think, are so amazing and so beautiful, and they offer such amazing resources where they now have programs or feeder programs where you can go there for low cost or free and then transfer to your 4-year university. And again, because of the programs that they have, if you qualify for them, you can end up getting your BA also for low cost or free. And so a lot of our youth are actually doing this process now. And I would say the biggest thing is like really identify what you want to do and if college is the right next step for that, because I don't think college is for everybody, and I don't
Hmm.
think I
I
don't think
agree.
a
It's about
degree
time
is
somebody said
required.
that. It's about time
Mhm.
somebody said that. It's about time
Yeah.
somebody just said that word right out loud. College is not for every single person, guys. It's
Mhm.
okay if that's not the route you take. I mean, now you can learn certain skills from colleges and things like that, but it's sometimes it's just not for everybody, man. Like I hated school. I didn't like school. I did school, and I ran into the same situation. Except for my school ended up getting sued because I was a part of Westwood, and then they got in deep trouble because all the shady practices they were doing and things
Yes.
like that. And I had like $40,000 in debt before I knew it because I didn't know what I was doing. I went from here, I went to Denver for a while because, I wanted to design video games, but I had not the skill set for it. But they told me I did, and it's like,
Exactly, especially if you wanna do something in the creatives or the arts, man, I would say apprentice under somebody. If
mhm,
you wanna get your degree, get it in business or marketing. Those are, like, transferable skills that you can learn. I think another thing I wish I knew, was being able to, I just saw that comment pop up. Yes,
that's by the
online
way, that's
schools.
the gentleman I told you about earlier. Ken is the gentleman I told you heard the story that came on Shared Zone, by the way.
Awesome, awesome. Online schools, they have, like, a flat fee, tuition. You can college hack through that way. There's, like, a whole movement on college hacking. Like, if you just use the hashtag college hacking, you can find so many tools and resources in how to hack the system, especially with college scholarships or online, semesters, that allow for you to take as many classes as you can squeeze in that one semester for that one flat fee. And so there's just so many resources out there. I mean, it's time to like really get creative. We talk about like we call YouTube the school of YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube
Hmm.
and really begin to get practice and get that thing in. And so like as a professional photographer, I've been a professional photographer almost over 20 years now, and not once has a client asked me what is my degree. It's all based on portfolio, who you
Hmm.
know, and if you have the right tools and equipment to complete the project you're trying to complete, right? And so that's really what we're trying to do here is help our youth see other career pathways beyond academics and sports. That gives you opportunity to get a higher wage, but without the cost of higher education. Now, if you want to go the higher education route, use that as a strategy, but be strategic about it. Build your network. Be really intentional in joining clubs, building relationships with your professors, because it's a way to build trust and relationship that you can then leverage that relationship for internships and other potential employment opportunities. These are
Hmm.
all things I didn't know when I went in. I just went to school, did my thing, and left. I built no relationship with anyone. I had no network. And it wasn't until I built my photography business that I had to build from the ground up. And now I have a huge creative network in Chicago that I'm now trying to build in Vegas. But that took 20 years for me to get to where I am. And had I known to leverage and use my college experience to build those kinds of relationships, I would have gone through that process completely different.
Yeah, of course. If we had known a lot of things, we would have done
Yeah.
things differently. Had I known that I didn't have the skill set I needed, I just wouldn't even wasted my time. And it's just like anything, like the podcasting. I'm still learning stuff. I'm a year into this one. I'm almost a year into this one. September would be the year, but I'm in it. Like I've learned so much from the beginning. It's crazy. Like had I told somebody that this is what I've been doing in 10 years, I would have laughed at myself. I'm like, what do you mean, dude? I don't know anything of this stuff. And I still don't know a lot of things. I just figure out as I go. I mean, I stumbled onto this whole thing because I'm on the Oracle Talk Radio Network, which they'll be featuring this video on there and all the other episodes I've done every Monday on there. And it's weird because it was just one of those things I stumbled into. I presented the idea took off, and then I got approached like, "Hey, what do you think about this network? Hey, I have nothing recorded." So I mean, guys, don't be scared to try something, man. Just go for it. And like she said, just plan it out. Like think about what you can do now. Nowadays, there's so many different options. You can get a degree for next to nothing with all these different places that pop up. You don't have to say yes to the first place. Shop around and see what other rates everybody's offering you. Make them work for you. Don't work for them.
Exactly, exactly.
So the photography business, do you have a website for that so people can come check it out?
So I'm in process with that actually. So the Firehouse Dream, that's
Yeah.
what we do. I teach the photography skills there. So I kind of feel like I'm in my mentor season.
That's good.
Um, I do take on a few clients here and there, mostly photographing and working with brands,
Yeah.
not so much independent
Do you have
And
like have an Instagram or anything you post your stuff on for
I
people to
don't,
see?
not anymore. I mean, it's under another brand called Authentic Adventure, but I don't really share that. My time, so much of my time goes towards doing my nonprofit work that I'm just so deeply passionate about that I have internal connections where people reach out about
Yeah.
hiring me for photography, but I'm not in the season where I'm currently marketing it. Now,
Yeah,
I
no, I get that.
may. I may in the next 6 months,
There you go.
depending on how things turn out in the nonprofit sector. But it's the cool thing about having the creative skills is that once you learn one, you learn others.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a skill that you will always have and that you can utilize to earn an income off of, or barter, or exchange services with. And so it's a tool. Like, I get to use it whenever I want. I can use it for monetization purposes, or I get to barter with my friends who offer services that maybe aren't necessarily in my budget, but I want to invest in their skill that they're offering. And I've bartered so much throughout the
Yeah.
years. But yeah, so right now I'm currently not marketing myself as a photographer, but I do, like, all the photography on the Firehouse stream was either taken by me or our youth. It's mostly our youth.
That's
And it's
awesome, though.
so
You're showcasing the work. That's really cool.
yeah, so it's so cool to see, like, man, I have all these mentees who are taking these beautiful photos, and I'm just in a season of life where I'm amplifying them. Now, I am learning though that I am both a numbers person and a creative, and so I need to have a good rhythm and a balance between both. And so I'm thinking through some what personal projects could look like, because I have a dream that I've never been able to experience yet of having like a big photo campaign in a gallery show. So I have a few ideas.
That'd be cool.
Actually, yeah, one specifically is about finance and net worth and doing some sort of creative storytelling with photography around how we can humanize each other beyond our net worth.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, keep me posted on that one for sure because
I
I'm interested.
will.
Because
Yeah.
that's so cool. That is really cool, and that's really cool. You put the youth up there, though. You put their stuff up there. They got to feel great about that. Like you can go see their website. Go to the website. You can see all of our stuff on there, and
Yeah.
thousands of people, man, just see that every day. Every time that link gets shared. So be sure to give me the link because I'll put it in the description of this video too. That way people can check it out and see what they're doing and stuff like that. Because that's so cool. I think that's really good that you're making them feel empowered because it's like, hey, look, that photo you make. It's on the website now. People can see it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it allows them to, so the whole reason why we do this is it allows them to build their portfolio, start
Hmm.
gaining experience of what it's like to work with clients. So as an organization, we do hire clients. We work with other nonprofits who are looking for content.
Yeah.
And we do that in partnership with our youth who come in and they'll take pictures and we edit them. And that way the client can use them for their own marketing purposes. But it gives our youth a portfolio. That way they're not starting at ground zero and they're able to say, like, here's all the examples and body of work that I can do. And then if they don't have their own equipment, we also allow them to rent our equipment for free.
Hey, they're more than welcome to do some stuff for me. They want to take some photos. I'll post them all over. I'm on every social media site possible, X all the way down to TikTok and everything. I'm on TikTok a lot. I have a lot of people on TikTok. Instagram and starting to build up this one. I had another profile, use my main profile on my own, but like I said, I post it everywhere. I'll put it everywhere. I'm working on needing a website eventually. I'll eventually get around to it. It's one of those things I've been working on. So, eventually that'll appear, but everything else I have Patreon and stuff like that. I do stuff for, and like I said, they want to share some stuff they come up with. Let me know, send it my way. I'll post it on my Instagram for them and give them credit for it too and everything because I have no problem supporting, the youth and doing their thing out there because I'm always big about that. Like, I feel like if we start with the kids, we can teach them everything in the future and things like that. And it's better to give them the confidence now to see that they're doing great now because some of those kids will blow your mind if they have. Like some of their artistic skills are beyond their years.
Yes, they have so much creativity inside of them.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
I'll share some other projects we're working on, and if
definitely.
you're able to help to spread the word,
Definitely.
that would
I'll
be
you
amazing.
just let me know when I need to spread. You guys wanna make the advertisement and me have me put it out there? I will. I'll put it everywhere. I put it in all my things for you guys. I got you because I'll feature this episode with that on there. I'll take clips of this and put it in there. Like this same person. This is, I'll connect it somehow. I got it. I'll
Okay,
figure it out
cool.
for you. We'll get it figured out. Yeah, just let me know what you got and what you need me to push out there. And want to make a little advertising for me to post. I'll post on my social media, my TikTok, my X, all that stuff. I got you. And then we'll tag this video in it too, so they come see you and get an idea of exactly what everything's about and things like that. And we'll just tie it all together really well.
Awesome. I love it.
Definitely, definitely. So, any plans in the future? I know we've been talking about projects. What's the next big thing coming up for you guys?
Yeah, so right now, so in Vegas, it's getting our mental health kits launched here.
Yeah,
And in Chicago, we just got a grant called Healing Illinois. It's around racial healing. And so our next big project with that is to do some healing circles with
yeah,
our youth in an intergenerational space, as well as to host an art convening, which is why I was like, we'll connect. We did it last year and it was beautiful. We had over 100 community members come through. This was a youth-led project. They emceed it. They got, they recruited other youth to submit art submissions, and we used art, food, mixed media, video, music, spoken word as an opportunity to help heal our communities in a multi-generational, multi-ethnic, racial space that allowed for us just to build trust and love and community together. And so we're dreaming of doing this bigger because our space was too small, and we're now talking about maybe doing a block party and
yeah.
making it this big annual event that I'm super excited for in May or June.
Well, it's funny you say video too. If any of the kids want to submit the videos, I will. I could definitely put them at the end of this. And at the end of every episode, I'll play different ones for them, and I'll send you the link so they know where it's at the end of the video. If they want to watch and see, just scoot to the end and see their video being played. I'll gladly do it for them. Just let them know I'm always down to help them out. Anything I can do that makes them, get more seen and everything else, I'm down for it. So just let me know if anything I can help at all.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, though. So that sounds like that's going to be a big undertaking right there. Is there any timeline on when you think that'll be happening, or is it something that's in the works now?
Yeah, so yeah, it's in the works now. The way that
Hmm.
grants work is it's a time frame. So it has to
Yeah.
be done by June 30th. So we're working on recruiting youth right now.
Hmm.
And just talk about what does community mean, what does neighborhood and neighboring look like and mean, and then we'll begin to co-create and design what this convening looks like. So yeah, it's gonna happen in May or June. We're just we don't have our youth committee yet. And from our learnings from last year, everyone was a senior. And so on our committee. And so it created some challenges because of graduation and different things like that. So depending on who we recruit for this year, will determine if we do it in May or June, but it's absolutely going to get done. It has to get done by June.
Yeah. Have you thought about like reaching out to some of the local schools and seeing if any of the
Oh yeah. We're
arts
in
anything like
our
that?
yeah, we do programming in our local schools. So
Okay.
we already have connections and relationships built there. So which it's literally a grant that just got approved.
That's awesome, though.
And so now that we know for sure we've secured the funding, now it's about implementing and creating the next steps to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome, though. That'd be so cool to see. If somebody could do for a video project is the steps to getting to that point too. Just kind of timeline it, get a little catalog going of how where it started and where you're at now and things like that. Be so cool for people to see. They can play and give people an idea of where you guys have come from to where you guys are now, because it's so great to hear that, even though you've gone through all these things, man, you've bounced back. And like I said in the beginning, you're proving the point that it doesn't matter how hard you fall down, it's how far you get back up. And you've just taken off, girl. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank
That's
you.
it's so great to hear, though. So, but why Vegas though? That's weird because you're from Chicagoland. I know I left because I can't stand the snow. I got tired of it after 19 years. You just like I went to Vegas. I'm in Texas now, so I'm outside of the DFW area. So
Okay. Yeah. So, Vegas, we wanted something new and different for our
yeah,
family. But I mean, there's so many reasons, high taxes in Chicago. It just
hmm,
became inaccessible to live there.
yeah,
We wanted a home for our kids to be
yeah.
able to, so the firehouse, real quick to give some context, the firehouse dream is actually because it's located in a firehouse.
Oh, that's so cool.
My husband and I purchased it, and it's a mixed use property. And so the garage space is what we turn into our creative studio to do our
Yeah,
creative work and then also operate the nonprofit out of it. And then we lived upstairs in the apartment. Beautiful space, super
yeah. Oh, I
grateful.
believe it.
We lived there for 6 years though, and it's on a commercial block with no neighbors, no backyard. And my kids just started voicing, the desire for their own bedrooms, to be
Yeah,
on a community block, and Chicago, to have the kind of time freedom we have. Chicago couldn't offer that to us, and
yeah,
so just in terms of what you need financially to really succeed and thrive there. And so we moved to Vegas. And now that's not to say that it's easier here. Like Vegas just got voted the most, like one of the most unaffordable cities to live in.
I think
Um,
let's question who's making that debate now, because sometimes it may not be the case. So I'm sure with
it
any cities, it's crazy.
It is wild. There has been a huge influx of people who have moved here,
Yeah,
including us, but more from California. And so it has caused there's a huge housing crisis here. And so I'm learning that each community, each state, each city has its own challenges. And how can I listen well? And how can I be a good neighbor now that I'm in Vegas? And how can I partner with my neighbors and youth to do the work, similar work that we're doing in Chicagoland, but instead really see it through the lens of
Ken, you
is
better stop
needed
saying those things. All right, Ken, you better behave yourself. All right.
what is needed here in Vegas, especially for youth mental health. So just based on some of my research and the
Yeah,
data here, I mean, Vegas is like 51 or 50th in terms of mental health resources. There isn't the healthcare system infrastructure is not built out here
yeah,
because it's so transient, even with healthcare, with doctors. So there's a shortage of doctors, mental
yeah,
health therapists, all those things. And so I'm seeing, the parallels I have between it is Vegas is a place that people don't come to live, they come to visit. And
yeah,
in Chicago, where we're based out of, is Maywood. And Maywood, are you familiar with where
yeah.
Maywood is?
I do.
Maywood is a community that people drive through but don't see it as a place that they want to live in. And so there's these interesting interconnections between what it's like to be in Maywood and now what it's like to be in Las Vegas. And so I'm taking what I've learned from Maywood and bringing it here and thinking through how can I intentionally, as a neighbor who's in proximity to Vegas now and not Maywood as much, and bring what I've learned through my nonprofit work and partner with this next generation of youth here and whatever needs that they have. And so right now we're going to focus on the mental health.
Yeah, definitely agree. That's definitely the one thing that needs to be focused on, because there's too many statistics that need to go up versus be the negative statistics. And I agree. That's great though. I mean, it's got to be a different change of pace though. I mean,
Yeah,
it's probably warmer for one. Let's start off with that one,
I
because
know the weather. Yes. We were just in Chicago a week ago. But, talking about corruption in Chicago, I think, there's corruption everywhere. I do want to mention that. There's corruption everywhere. And I think
so
what empowered me is to say, what can I do as a neighbor to create change?
yeah,
What skills and assets do I have that I can help create the kind of neighborhood I want to see instead of doing nothing or just complaining? And so the last 8 years in Maywood has been this journey of, well, my skills are photography. I've seen how photography has allowed for me to experience upward mobility and to earn an income with it. And so, what would it look like to have a creative space right here in Maywood? Because Maywood, you have to leave Maywood to get access to all the things. We don't have a grocery store. We've just got a coffee shop. But for a long time, we didn't. All the resources are outside of our community. And so that's why we went on the MLS, saw the firehouse for sale, and we pursued it because we wanted to be a part of the solution for the challenges we were seeing within our own community.
that's awesome. I love that. That's a great statement right there. I grew up in a small town too. I was out there by Joliet area, kind of where
Yeah.
going towards like Peoria. Like
Yeah.
you literally would have missed this town driving through it. Literally, it's one of those little ones right off the exit there. You go off and you would never have seen us. You sneeze and you're passing us. We didn't even have a grocery store that I know of in town. What do we
Mhm.
have? We had Arby's and Wendy's and McDonald's. Those were your only options. Okay. Walmart was 10 miles away, and that's
Yep.
where everybody hung out at. Like we lived in the sticks somewhere. Like people out here in Texas, like we lived in the sticks. We lived in the sticks, man. Like we were nowhere near the big cities. Like Joliet was our next biggest city you went to. And you still had to drive 15 minutes to get there anyways. It didn't matter, and then that was still a rough area depending what part of the area you went to. So,
Yeah.
and it was just like, ugh, I
Yeah.
don't miss it. I don't miss
Yeah,
it.
I hear that. I know it's very different being in Vegas and being in the beginning. It's only been 7 months since we've lived here.
Yeah,
It was very hard. Like when you get used to hearing gunshots or you just get used, like it becomes so normalized and that impacts trauma as well. And so and I think I want to be very intentional around the language that I use because while there's this language shift. Instead of identifying language on a
Mm-hmm.
community and labeling it as bad,
Mm-hmm.
we weren't a bad community. We're a community that experienced bad things.
Yeah.
And there are so many of us in the Maywood context proviso district community where we are advocating, we are fighting, we
Yeah.
are doing the work. As individuals with very little dollars, right? We get very little funding to do the work that we do. And there are so many of us who are so committed to this work that we have made it our life purpose. And so but I won't lie that the shift in what we experienced, what we saw, was our day to day, and now being in Vegas, it's very different. It's very night and day, and so there's some unpacking and healing that needs to be done in that as well. But I do travel to Maywood every month. I'm still the executive director of the nonprofit, working
Yeah.
virtually, leading my team virtually, and so I just want this work. The Maywood location will always be our HQ. I believe in Maywood. I believe what Maywood has to offer our neighbors and our community, and I'm committed to doing this work.
That's awesome. It really is. That's really cool though that you're doing it still. I mean, televisits. You ever thought of doing televisits too? I mean, there's so much out there for those nowadays. It's crazy. It gives you more access to people, and you can get more done with that way too, because you'd be one central spot. Even if you don't have the space yet, you could still see them. Via whatever they're using nowadays. There's so many different ways to talk to people. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. No, I like where you're going with it. Like I said, I definitely want to see what I can do, and whatever I can promote, I'm totally down for it. Like I said, it's so cool. I like what you're doing. I feel like you got something going on, and I'll have to link you up with a couple of people. Definitely, because Brian will probably be one of them. I'll have to let him know a little more about what you're doing and see if maybe he wants to get in on that too. Because, like I said, he's working with the youth as well, permitting getting that app going for all the schools and stuff like that. So maybe he can have you help him out in the Vegas area, getting in with some people. Maybe you got some connections you make or something. But he's got something really big going right now. Him, and then Leroy's got that book in Canada he's been using up there that he's written too. It's called and Breathe is what it's called. And like I said, he's teaching these kids as young as 5 and 6 to just take a breath, think about what you're doing next. And he's teaching how to emotionally regulate and things like that.
Yeah.
And I meet new people every day. It's just crazy. So, oh look, Ken wants to tell you something, by the way.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you.
So yeah, I think you're doing amazing work. I just keep it up, no matter what. Don't let nobody put you down, girl, because you got this. I'm so happy to see what you do. I'm so glad you signed up to do this thing. This has been really great and really very informative too for us to know that this is out there. That people that might need these things or if they can get to these things and all that kind of stuff. So, is there anything you want to plug before we start signing off here?
Yeah, I mean, just check us out. Check out our website, thefirehousestream.org. We're on Instagram, The Firehouse Stream. And then if you want to learn more about me personally or learn more about my money healing content, I'm your friend, Jasmine.
There you go, guys. That's where you know where to find her, guys. You know where to find me. I'm on pretty much everything. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, X, everywhere Visa wants you to be, guys. And also, if you don't like YouTube, use the audio side from Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio. Jasmine and I's interview will be on there sometime this week. And as I always say, guys, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save somebody's life, or you can save somebody's day. I'm Pete for Anxiety, signing off, saying, guys, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is.